Welcome back to RGR. I'm Ryan. This is me going rogue on the Kansas City Chiefs and the NFL Draft. A lot of craziness going on in the NFL Draft, and I'm going to do a mock today, maybe two. I don't know. We'll see what I get to, but it's just so contorted. We're going to use fan speak today because I want to get an idea of what some of the trades could come around as. I feel like it's more likely trades are harder to get done, but there might be more of them. I think there's going to be more reaches. I think there's going to be a lot going on. If you missed anything on the Locked On Chiefs podcast this week, talked with Matt Derrick, had some reaction from Mark Dominic as well as Gil Brandt. I'm going to have more for you for some of the draft experts coming up as well. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that sub button. Make sure you hit the click down on the bell so you get all the notifications. Leave your comment below. And if you like this one, leave a thumbs up. It helps YouTube find me and us so we can have a better discussion. Today, getting into this mock draft, going to go ahead and select the Chiefs, and we'll switch over to this screen. We're going through fan speak so that we can hopefully get some trade offers. I'm going to do this one take so that you guys can get an idea for what's really going to go on. And as we get ready to move forward, I'm over here on Premium because I like having the simulation of the possibility of trades, not having to propose things and try to get things done that way. Now, this is without a Chris Jones trade. This is straight up just with draft picks. So I'm going to select 7, even though we don't have that many selections currently. We're going to go through that. I am going to take what I use over here is the composite board, which is kind of an amalgamation of everybody's different little looks at where everything should be. And that is coming up here as soon as I scroll down into the composite. And now we have selected that. And we are going to roll. We'll just use random, if we can get that to select. And we'll move forward. And move forward. And we'll use user-voted needs. Now, as we see this draft kick off, we are immediately braced with offers. And I do feel the way this is going to go. I'm calling number 32 the Love Hurts pick because I wish I had that song right now, actually. I feel like Love and Hurts, the two quarterbacks that I think could be there, that teams want to get up to with that 32nd pick, I think that's what's tempting to them. I think they want to get the fifth-year option on a quarterback. I think those are the two guys that somebody might come up to grab. So that's what I'm calling it. Now, this first offer is the New England Patriots. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think the Chiefs would want to spend an extra second-round pick, 31 to go up just, 9 spots? That's not good enough, I don't think. Now, there is a scenario where Brett Veach really likes somebody and needs to get him in his mind and is willing to do that. I don't think he would make this trade for his second-round pick, but for a third, he might do it. In the end, I don't think that it happens. Now, the other option that they've given us here is the LA Chargers apparently want to move up, and I'm perfectly fine taking draft capital from the LA Chargers. So, while I don't think this is a real-world scenario, I don't think they'd offer their third just to get up, 5 picks. That's not a whole lot. So, we're going to take it, but just keep that in mind as we move forward. So, we're going to let the first round roll off, and what we find as the picks start coming in here on Fanspeak, that the Chiefs now have number 5 in the second round. As we've moved back those 5 picks, which is in my range. I would go back down to 42, 10 spots back, as long as we picked up, in that point, a very high third or an additional second, like 2 seconds, is what I'd be looking for there. So this is what we have. Pick number 5 is coming up for us then. 31 for the normal pick the Chiefs would have. As we review, this popped up here real quick, the round, what we see, Tua, Herbert went in the top 10. Ruggs about there. Ken Murray goes 16. CeeDee Lamb, Trayvon Diggs. And I've told you about Diggs. If you want to check him out, you can go back and see my review from, I think, 2 weeks ago. I'll try to link it in the links up above the screen there. Jefferson, Patrick Queen went as well. So both of the major linebackers we would consider are off the board, and we're well off the board before we got there. Jalen Johnson, the guy that I have my eye on as well, also went. So Christian Fulton went. All 3 of the guys that I would consider options at 32 were well gone before then anyway. So this trade is looking better. As we move on to the second round, it's going to load again. And we are faced with looking at the board. With those quarterbacks gone, Love is the top guy on this board for this particular configuration. I'm not sure that I'm 100% with that, but, it is what it is. And we're going to launch this and start our picks. Love does go, Epinesa goes, Terrell. You did get Hamler off the board too. So now the Chiefs are faced with a decision. No standing offers for number 5 in the second round, so we are going to make this pick. We have a couple of things that we can do here. You have the stretch, and by stretch I mean that it's not completely out of the realm of possibility, but I don't think it's a priority. And that includes Denzel Mims here at 38. In terms of the ranking for this board, we're picking here at 37, so I'm feeling pretty good about that if we had to go that way, but I don't think they will. And I don't feel like a lot of the talking heads, a lot of the quote-unquote media guys have said they're going to take a running back in the first. I still don't feel that's the way. It's not just my preference that I wouldn't do that, but I really don't think the team is going to do that. I think they have bigger fish to fry. And that's really the bottom line for me. So I'm not going to take one of the running backs here. I am going to take A.J. Terrell because I feel like he's got upside over Gladney. I like Gladney in the slot, which is a spot that the Chiefs have open, but I feel like Terrell gives them another option on the outside in case of injury, in case of anything that should go wrong. I feel like they need more guys that are outside as well. They need a couple of DBs in this draft, so I'm not uncomfortable with that in any way. I'm trying to see if there's any other options that we might have looked at. Cesar Ruiz is still on the board. I find that interesting. I think that may actually be true. But we are going to stick with our guy from Clemson, A.J. Terrell, and just cross off, I think still, even with Bashaud Breeland back in the fold, one of the bigger needs for this team in this particular draft is fortifying the defensive backfield. And that's going to include the corners, but it could also include a safety. I think they might want to roll with more than just the 4 guys that they have, but we'll find out. And as this ticks along, we're seeing Ezra Cleveland come off. We're seeing Josh Uche. We have another couple of offers here. We are on the board right now on the second round at the 31st pick, the one that the Chiefs have originally. And the Seahawks are not offering anything worth doing. We're talking about moving all the way back past our third round pick, so that's pretty much worthless. Same thing with the New England Patriots. I'm not interested in any of those drafts, so we're declining. So we are on the clock, and we are taking a look. Now, I know some of you guys like Dobbins. And I can understand why. I think the signing of DeAndre Washington really kind of puts the kibosh on that. Much like having all the wide receivers back, I think grabbing a second-round running back is probably out of the question with a full backfield like they have now. A day 3 guy is a whole different story. We'll get to that when we get to that. So now we're talking about trying to, again, see what's on the board. Kyle Tuggers is an interesting guy. I think he has to play from the back from what I've seen. I haven't seen a lot of film on him. There's not a lot because he played at Lenore Ryan, of all places. Not a ton. I think Chin is an interesting guy that could fill in the defensive backfield and do some interesting things. Do I think he'd really be here at 63? I'm not so certain about that. So it comes down to a couple of different options, knowing what we've done so far is grab A.J. Terrell. Not a lot on the linebacker cruise right here. You see, we'd have to go probably scroll down quite a bit to get to them. Malik Harris looks like he's coming. At 67 they have him ranked. The guy that I really like is Logan Wilson. We'll see if he makes it because we are not going to take the linebacker yet. We're going to kind of have a debate. Do we double dip here? Do we take a guy like Bryce Hall that has experience playing with Juan Thornhill, plays that zone corner thing real well? Cam Dantzler, I'm really intrigued by him because he doesn't make any sense to me. He doesn't run like an athlete. He doesn't look fast on film, but he makes a lot of plays, and I'm torn on him. That's a tough one for me. Lloyd Cushenberry is a guy that I think kind of had a slump his senior year, but I like the way that he plays. He's an option. David Arnett is a guy that out at Ohio State, he's second fiddle to Okudah, and then that makes perfect sense. But he's got some work ethic issues, I think, and I think teams are going to be a little bit shy on him. I don't think this is somebody that the Chiefs would be looking at unless they really have a good feel for him right away. So that leaves you with Malik Harrison, who I think is a great all-around linebacker. But the Chiefs have said they want a coverage linebacker. That's not Malik Harrison. He's an all-around guy. I love his instincts, and I think he can cover sideline to sideline, but he doesn't play backward that well. I think he's a touch behind Ken Murray. I think Ken Murray's similar, that he still plays better laterally and forward than he does backward, but I think Murray's an upgrade over Harrison here. So just to make sure we're not missing anything startling, we're looking down there, and I think we are okay. So I think what's really going to be interesting is Hall is a guy that could fit the scheme and allow them to play more zone under Spags. I'm not sure that's what he wants to do. Chin is a guy that I think is kind of a difference maker and would be the heir apparent to Dan Sorensen eventually, a better athlete, I think, although Dan's not bad. So I'm going to go ahead and grab him, fortify the secondary without an actual corner, and try to continue to increase our take there. And Neville Gallimore went off the board right after we made our selection of Chin. We come back, and again, we are 2 picks in this third round, number 7 and number 32. We're going to get to those in a second. We know the top guys on the board because we just looked at them, and we have the 2 DBs. So we're probably set on DBs as this round starts. We're going to see what comes off the board. I'm not 100% sold that we're not going to get a trade offer, which we did. This is the Bills wanting us to move back from 7 to 22, and then we also have 32, so we got to keep that in mind. And this is the Lions wanting us to move back from 7 to 21 and pick up a 5th and a 6th. Now, the Bills' offer is a better one. I'm just not sure that I want to make it, because there are some good players here. At 7, I know I can get Logan Wilson. I'm just not sure I can get him at 22. So we're going to take a chance, and we're going to try to fortify the backside of this roster by taking the Bills' offer, moving back from 7 to 22, picking up the 4th, 5th, and 6th, which really gives us some trade ammunition and the ability to take a number of picks. We're going to watch what comes off here. There went Arnett. Raekwon Davis. Strobridge goes, a guy that I would have had my eyes on. Don't like him going to the Broncos in particular. There's Robert Hunt, a guard that I think a lot of people are going to like for the Chiefs. I think he could really fit. And what does this leave us with? We are on the clock here at 22. We have another pick in 10 picks. It's good to remember. And now we have options. We have probably the most athletic and best pass-blocking interior lineman in this draft in Matt Hennessy. We have Cam Akers, who's a running back that I actually really do like. I think we have options now that we have 22 and 32 in the 4th as well. I think we were going to have another option on him. I'm not sure he's going to go. Couple of the popular tight ends are here. That is a big question. Knowing that we have 10 picks to go, I want to secure the linebacker first. I probably shouldn't. And on second thought, oh man, that's a tough one. I am going to take Logan Wilson here, and we're going to hope that what happens is that we still get a chance at Matt Hennessy in 10 picks where the Chiefs would normally be picking at 96, and we lost out. That was a gamble that was worth taking in my opinion, but it didn't work out for us. Ben Bredeson just went as well, so that puts a kibosh a little bit on what's on the interior offensive line, but we still have shored up the defense in our key areas. There still is Tyler Biadasz, a guy with a lot of injury concern, and quite frankly, a guy that's not the athlete that I think the Chiefs want. So I find that a stretch, but he is a possibility. We have Peoples-Jones, who's one of the more athletic guys. I can't get a feel for him on tape. I don't know if it's a quarterback issue or what it is. I want him to make more plays, but he doesn't. He reminds me of some of the good things about Chris Conley and being an exceptional athlete, an exceptional leaper. And I do like the concept of another target for Pat Mahomes. And now that we have the draft capital to do it, but this is our last pick in the top 100. So we got to make sure that we get value for it. Somebody that can actually play some meaningful snaps for us. I think I like Anthony Jennings. He's a guy that's on my watch list. Same with Leki Fotu. We'd hope that we'd get back to them by the time we get there at 96 plus the comps, we're going to be at, 126 or so? So Lecky is probably not going to be there. Troy Dye is a coverage guy that you can get to, and I have an idea of what I'm going to do right now. So let's go with this and give you guys an option, a guy that I think is really intriguing and has a lot of upside. I don't know that you can say he's on everybody's board, but I think the Chiefs are going to like him, and I think he's somebody that will grow into a role. So I think that's what we'll do. And we're going to go down and grab him. Where did he go? Smaller guy. There he is. Peoples-Jones, the athlete, the guy that jumps out of the gym. I think that's going to work for the Kansas City Chiefs. It gives them another option. Behind, in the Pringle range, trying to be that 5th, 6th receiver, something that can come in very handy. We did say Nite Moody go. Jennings went. I was hoping he was going to last a bit longer. He did not. That's all right. And Cam Akers went as well. Those were all guys that probably could have been in consideration for the Chiefs at 96. They definitely were for me as well. How does this next round play out? We have 22 and 32 remaining. Now, here's an idea. Why don't we propose trade with the Jaguars? And we were able to get that done by making sure that we gave them enough value. We acquired one of those picks by moving around. So now that leaves us, we have the 10th pick in the 4th and the 22nd. And then we can come back with late round picks in the 5th and 6th and get guys that we know we want to develop. So we're going to get this started. We are picking 10th in this round as we come across. Jordan Brooks is still out here. He's a guy who could be a nickel linebacker for us. We don't have that off of our board yet. Logan Wilson, I think, is a 3-down guy. Do you call him a nickel? He probably could play it, so it's not a foregone conclusion. I know you guys like seeing the Missouri Albert O out there. If we hadn't already adjusted corner, I would be looking at Amik Robertson pretty hard right here because I feel like he is a nasty, crafty interior defender, nickel cornerback. He's just undersized, and he's undersized. He's smaller than Tyrann Mathieu. Tyrann and Chris Harris are two of the smallest DBs to play in the league ever, certainly currently. I think that's a stretch and it's a little bit tough. So I'm going to hold off on that right now. And I want to come back and give them a couple other options. There is corner taken care of. We've got another DB. Robertson is one of the picks here. I like Antonio Gandy-Golden, but we addressed it last round with the wide receiver in Donovan Peoples-Jones. Come back to guys that I do like. Nick Harris is underpowered, but I like some of the things that he does at center. We do need to address that position at some point. If this thing will scroll for me. And so that's something to keep an eye on. We have another linebacker that I really like watching play in Jacob Phillips. He's a guy that's more of a straight middle, not a coverage guy. Somebody that could really jump in there. We have options in Shane Lemieux on the interior. We have Darnay Holmes, another nickel corner type. I think the Chiefs have spoken both at the Combine and afterwards. I think he was one of the few interviews they got to do with Anthony McFarland out of Maryland, the running back. And then you have, that's a guy to watch for later. So let's take what is the top guy on our board and give us another nickel. We'll take Amik Robertson. We'll get him in there. Let him do what he does. Fight for a spot on the inside of that defense at the nickel corner position. We're going to watch how everybody else comes off the board. Albert O went. Jordan Brooks. There went Phillips. I thought we'd have a shot at him. It didn't work out. So now what do we have on the board? We have McFarland still. We have Willie Gay out there. That is another option. This is a chance taking on Willie Gay because of his on-the-field stuff. We can give that a shot if we choose that that's important to us. It is all upside. You can cut him regardless and not be any worse the wear if that's what you decide to do. We are now on the board here at 22. We have a whole round to go, so we have to make this decision pretty wisely. Do we want to go for a running back here and see what comes of it, or do you think we'll have value down below? I think the value is going to be interesting as we go through. So I'm going to double up, and I'm going to take Willie Gay Jr. here. We're going to give him a shot, see what he can do, get a lot of new blood. I don't know what the team's going to do with Dorian O'Daniel. I'm not sure if they're going to try and bring him along, if they're looking at a position change, which I think playing him at safety some might be an option. I do feel he has pretty good speed for that position. It's just a question of how they want to go about it. And after we chose Willie, we saw that Darnay Holmes went off the board, Nick Harris went off the board, Prochet went off the board. That's too bad. We were going to look for him. Lemieux, Coulter, and Davian Taylor, which was another option to maybe think about at the linebacker spot. Now, as we get stuck here, we're just going to have to see how this all falls out. We are now mid-late, not super late, in the 5th, having the 21st pick this time. And then we'll have one of the last picks in the 6th round as well. So it gives us development here. These are guys that we can choose that we want to bring in and see if we can get them to mature and to do something that we feel they could be really good for. Now, we've got a wide receiver on board. We are now on the clock at 21 in the 5th. And right off the top are a couple of interesting options in Thaddeus Moss, a guy that I think blocks pretty well, has some upside, has great hands. I think he had the fewest drops at the tight end position in college football last year. I don't think he recorded one at all, although there was another tight end that I think is still – oh, no, he went. Colby Parkinson is another one that was a good option. Then you have Antonio Gibson. You've heard last week when I was talking with Danilo about his look at it that Gibson's more of a receiver. I agree with that. Is it that important, the receiver or the tight end spot? Especially now they have Ricky Seals-Jones, who I think is going to fill in for them some. I'm looking down the board to see if there are other options that we should hold off on until later, because there's always somebody else that you feel like you might be able to give a little run to, give an inside look at. And what haven't we done at this point is really the interior O-line. That's really the question. Do we know what they're going to do? We really don't. And Trey Adams is not going to be an option. Not only is he classically a tackle, but he's not a very good one. His career has been abolished by his progression. So it really, for me, comes down to Moss or Gibson. Both guys that are going to have trouble, I think, making the roster at this point and could be doomed for the practice squad. But I like what Moss brings in terms of a blocking ability, and I like that he has some upside as a pass catcher. So we're going to go with him at this point. DeAndre Washington really put a kibosh on, I think, an early or even a 4th round running back for me. But there are options. As we come back to this last pick, I think we will still have somebody that we can look at after we've chosen the tight end and look at running back in the next round. I think that's perfectly good. If one of the offensive line that we like or one of the running backs is there, I think that's probably the pick. We're going to end off on offense, I think. We might even have a shot at a developmental guy that could be, an impact. Degar is an interesting one. We're going to see him come off right here. As it's falling down, I think the name that's sticking out to me is a name that you guys probably already know. There went Hansen. He's a guy with a lot of experience. Runyon went. That's who I was thinking of, a guy that might give you guys some recognition factor. So I can go with that. Now, as we get down to it, we are now on the clock in the 6th round, nearly the end. And this is legitimately what I think may happen. If they choose to just ride with the guys that they have, I know they like the guards that they have in camp. I know signing Mike Remmers actually helped them in terms of feeling comfortable with what they have as backups. This could be the way that it goes. Having not addressed offensive line could be something that if the draft falls this way, we could be looking at in real life. So let's look at who's left. It is mostly guards. Danny Pitcher's the most athletic guard, I think, out there by the Athletic Matrix, and you can find that and the draft guide at rogueapc.com. If you do, use the code RGR20. It gets you like 25% off, so make sure you remember that. Kevin Dotson, Tyree, you just never know. I'm not as comfortable with either of those guys, although I'm hearing good things about Kevin Dotson as a sleeper. I do like that. Onwenu, he's probably a solid developmental guy. I just don't think that he fits the scheme as well. I'd like to see more of an athlete there. As we look down, running backs, Calais, not a whole lot. Patrick Taylor doesn't really ring any, alarms for me, not making me go do this. So, Darius, Fuller. There is a Washington running back that I think is intriguing that we should keep in mind. But at this point, I think the best on the board is the guy that's best on the board, Danny Pitter. Bring him in. Let him compete. Be the athlete. He's going to be great on pulls. He might end up being a long snapper for you sometime too. From what I understand, he did that in his past. I'd be intrigued by it. So that's it for us. We're going to let it run through, give us the summary. And I think at the end of the day, I'm pretty happy with the way that it went. It's not ideal. You would have loved to seen a little bit more in terms of the corners available, the linebackers available at the top of the draft. I thought we'd get one of those, but when all of my first-round grades at those two positions are completely gone, and even the guys that are borderline that I have in the 30s, but not above 32, when all of those guys were gone, we had to get a little bit creative, and I think Terrell's a guy that's right there. He's right about 40 for me. He might be 42 when it all comes out. I don't do a statistical rank where everybody's got a number. I do the horizontal board. You guys will see that a couple of days before the draft. I'll do a release and run through it here on the channel. It will also be available for download from ChiefsDigest.com, where Matt Derrick runs the show. So make sure you keep on top of that one. And let's take a quick repeat at what we did here. We did trade back a couple of times. It got us extra picks. We were able to grab Terrell in the top of the second, Chin later in the second, and come back with Logan Wilson, an all-around but very much more mobile linebacker in the mid-third. And we finished off the third round, the top 100 picks that the Chiefs ended up having with Donovan Peoples-Jones, a wide receiver much in the vein of Chris Conley that was taken right about where Chris Conley was. So I think that's interesting. And then we come back in the fourth round with Amik Robinson, who should compete at nickel corner, especially given he is, I think, more apt to get his hands on balls than Rashad Fenton. I like Rashad Fenton. I think he might be better outside. I don't know. We're going to have to see. That'll be a great competition. And quite frankly, you need at least 4 or 5 corners just for injury. And when teams are going to try to empty out and spread everything out, I think that's coming this season. Then we took a chance on Willie Gay Jr. Got that done. If he can be the athlete and the concerted professional that he wasn't able to be in college, I think he can really, really help this team. That's an all-upside pick. That's all conjecture about the future. We gave it a shot. Thaddeus Moss, same way. Think he can add a little bit in the run game. He's got great hands. He's got to learn to run routes, and he's not the greatest athlete. I think he's probably right in the range of where Demetrius was. I think that's behind Ricky Seals-Jones, but we're going to see what happens. And then finish it off with a guard with a lot of athletic potential. He moves very well and could be the kind of guy that fills in later down the line. So that's it for me today. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Tell me what I did wrong or what you would have done instead. That's probably a better way to put it. Check out rogueapc.com. Get your guide and the athletic matrix. They're both available, but use the code RGR20. Get yourself a discount. I want to treat you guys right. I appreciate you checking this one out. Check these videos as well. I'll be back with you later in the week with a little bit of update from some of the things that I'm hearing around the league and about this draft. Have a good one, and I'll check you next time.